Imagine that every challenge, fear, and doubt you face is not just a problem, but a guide leading you to your true purpose. What if the key to understanding yourself and your life's purpose lies in the parts of yourself that you've tried to ignore or hide? Today we'll explore Carl Jung's theory of the shadow, a powerful idea from psychology that can change your life. By the end, you'll understand your shadow and see how it holds the secret to your potential and freedom. Carl Jung, a famous psychologist, believed that the shadow is the part of ourselves that we don't like or accept. It includes all the traits and desires we think are bad or shameful. But surprisingly, this shadow also holds our greatest strengths and the path to a fulfilling life. Think about it. How often do we avoid certain thoughts or behaviors because they make us uncomfortable? How often do we judge others for traits we secretly recognize in ourselves? If someone else's actions bother you a lot, it might be because they touch a part of your own shadow. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to understand ourselves." The shadow isn't just about darkness, it's about hidden potential. It's the energy we hide because we're afraid or ashamed to face it. Reflect on your own life. Are there parts of yourself that you try to keep hidden? Maybe it's a fear of failure, deep anger, or envy. Maybe it's a passion you think is wrong. What if these parts of yourself aren't flaws but messages waiting to be understood? Jung believed that by facing our shadow, we can make it a part of our conscious mind, leading to what he called individuation, becoming our true selves. This isn't easy. It takes courage, honesty, and a willingness to explore the unknown. But the rewards are huge. Jung described individuation as discovering who you truly are, not just the person you show to the world, but your complete and authentic self that includes both light and shadow. He said our greatest growth comes from accepting our shadow, not rejecting it. Think about heroes in stories who face their own darkness, like Hercules, who had to face his rage, or Luke Skywalker, who had to confront his inner darkness to become a Jedi. These stories mirror our own journeys. The question is, are you ready to take that first step? Are you willing to look at the parts of yourself you've been avoiding and ask, what are you trying to teach me? Jung's philosophy teaches us that our shadow isn't an enemy, but a guide. It speaks to us through our dreams, fears, and relationships. Have you ever had a recurring dream or felt a strong pull towards something? These might be signs of your shadow trying to communicate. The process of working with your shadow starts with awareness. Pay attention to strong emotions and reactions. These are often clues to the parts of yourself you've hidden. Once you identify these traits, the next step is acceptance. This doesn't mean acting on every impulse. It means acknowledging these parts of yourself without judgment and understanding their role in your life. Imagine how freeing it would be to see your flaws as tools for growth. Think of how much more confident you could become by accepting your whole self. In the coming sections, we'll explore how to identify and integrate your shadow. We'll find practical steps for turning what feels like darkness into light and see how this integration can lead you to your life's purpose. And remember, the most important insight is still to come. Stay with us because by the end of this journey, you'll have a roadmap for understanding your shadow and using it as a guide to your destiny. Let's dive deeper into the world of the shadow and uncover the extraordinary potential that lies within. The shadow shows up in many ways, in our habits, relationships, and reactions. Have you ever had an emotional outburst and later wondered why you reacted so strongly? That moment where emotion takes over reason is often your shadow revealing itself. But why does the shadow have such power over us? Jung believed it's because we deny or suppress these parts of ourselves, giving them more control. Now think about this. If you could bring that hidden part to the surface and understand it, how much more control would you have over your life? How much freer would you feel? One of the most powerful examples of shadow work is projection. Jung argued that when we deny parts of ourselves, we often see those traits in others, making our reactions to them stronger. For example, if you feel inadequate, you might criticize others who seem overconfident. This isn't just a psychological trick. It's a mirror showing us the parts of ourselves we haven't acknowledged. Jung explained it this way: knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Take a moment to reflect. Is there someone in your life who triggers a strong emotional response? Instead of focusing on their behavior, ask yourself, what does this reaction reveal about me? What part of my shadow am I projecting onto them? This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about self-discovery. Each projection is a chance to reclaim a piece of yourself and bring it into the light. Let's explore how the shadow relates to our purpose. Often, the parts of ourselves we suppress are closely tied to our unique gifts and passions. For example, someone who suppresses their creativity out of fear of failure might find that embracing this side leads them to their life's work. Jung believed that purpose isn't something we find outside, it's something we uncover inside. It's about aligning with our authentic self, which includes both light and shadow. But how do we start this process of alignment? It begins with self-inquiry. Ask yourself challenging questions. What do I fear most about myself? What have I been told is unacceptable about me? What passions or dreams have I abandoned because they felt impractical? Write these down. Reflect on them. You might be surprised at what emerges when you give your shadow a voice. Another powerful tool for shadow work is journaling. Jung himself kept extensive journals, using them to explore his unconscious mind. He encouraged his patients to write down their dreams, as dreams are a direct line to the unconscious. In your dreams, pay attention to recurring themes or symbols, and ask yourself, what message might my unconscious be trying to convey? Now let's consider the transformative power of integrating the shadow. Imagine a painter who refuses to use dark colors. Their paintings might be beautiful, but they lack depth and contrast. When we embrace our shadow, we become like an artist who uses the full spectrum of colors, light and dark, to create a masterpiece. Integration doesn't mean acting on every dark impulse. It means understanding and accepting these aspects as part of our humanity. This acceptance fosters compassion, not only for ourselves, but also for others. You begin to see that everyone carries a shadow, and this shared experience connects us deeply. The journey to embrace your shadow is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong process. It requires patience, courage, and a commitment to self-growth. But the rewards are immense. You gain clarity about your purpose, a deeper sense of inner peace, and the ability to live authentically. And here's a key insight: your purpose isn't just about you. Jung believed that our individuation contributes to the collective unconscious, the shared pool of human experience. When you confront your shadow and align with your true self, you don't just transform your own life, you inspire and elevate those around you. In the next section, we'll explore the practical steps to integrating your shadow into your daily life. We'll discuss how embracing this hidden side can lead to healthier relationships, greater creativity, and a life that feels truly aligned with who you are. The most profound truth is yet to come. Stay with us as we uncover the ultimate revelation about your shadow and how it holds the key to your destiny. As we journey further into Jung's philosophy, let's focus on how to apply the insights of shadow work in everyday life. Understanding your shadow is powerful, but true transformation comes through integration. This is the bridge between awareness and action, where you begin to weave your hidden aspects into the fabric of your being. One of the first steps in this process is practicing radical self-honesty. This is about looking at yourself without filters or excuses. It takes courage to admit, yes, I feel jealousy, or Yes, I sometimes judge others unfairly. But here's the key. Self-honesty isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Think about it like cleaning a cluttered room. You can't organize or use the space until you first acknowledge the mess. In the same way, you can't integrate your shadow until you recognize its presence. A practical way to begin this practice is by paying attention to your emotional triggers. The next time you feel a strong reaction, whether it's anger, fear, or even excessive admiration, pause and ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? What does this situation reveal about me? Is there a part of myself I'm projecting onto this person or event? For example, if you find yourself irritated by someone who seems overly confident, consider whether this irritation stems from a part of yourself that feels insecure, or perhaps their confidence reminds you of a trait you've suppressed, your own desire to step into the spotlight. This process of self-inquiry can feel uncomfortable at first. It's tempting to retreat into blame or defensiveness. But remember, the goal isn't to criticize yourself, it's to understand yourself. Each trigger is a doorway to deeper self-awareness. Once you've identified aspects of your shadow, the next step is dialogue. Jung often encouraged his patients to engage with their shadow as if it were a separate entity. This might sound unusual, but it's a way of externalizing and understanding these hidden parts. Imagine sitting across from your shadow and asking it questions. Why do you feel this way? What are you trying to protect me from? What do you need? From me to feel acknowledged? This dialogue can be done through journaling, meditation, or visualization. The goal is to create a space where your shadow feels seen and heard. Remember, your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of you that has been trying, in its own flawed way, to protect or guide you. For many, this process leads to surprising revelations. You may discover that a fear you've carried for years stems from a childhood experience, or that a trait you've suppressed is actually a strength waiting to be unleashed. Now let's explore how this integration impacts your relationships. The shadow doesn't just influence your inner world, it shapes how you interact with others. Often, unresolved aspects of your shadow manifest as conflict or tension in relationships. Have you ever been in a situation where you repeatedly clash with someone over the same issue? Or perhaps you've noticed patterns in your relationships, like attracting the same type of partner or facing similar challenges? Jung believed that relationships act as mirrors, reflecting our unconscious back to us. When you feel triggered by someone, it's often because they embody a trait or behavior that resonates with your own shadow. By becoming aware of this dynamic, you can transform conflict into growth. Instead of blaming or resenting the other person, ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me about myself? This shift in perspective not only deepens your self-awareness, but also fosters compassion and understanding. Let's take this idea further. How can embracing your shadow enhance your creativity and purpose? Jung argued that the shadow isn't just a container for negative traits. It's also the source of untapped potential. The energy you use to suppress your shadow can be redirected into creative pursuits. For example, a suppressed anger might become a driving force for advocacy or social change. A hidden desire for attention could fuel artistic expression or public speaking. When you integrate your shadow, you reclaim the energy that was once spent hiding it, allowing you to channel it into pursuits that align with your authentic self. Think of some of the greatest artists, writers, and leaders in history. Their work often reflects a deep engagement with their own shadows. Frida Kahlo's paintings, for instance, are filled with raw emotion and unflinching honesty about pain and identity. Martin Luther King Jr. channeled his anger at injustice into a movement that transformed the world. Jung himself saw creativity as a pathway to individuation. He believed that by engaging in creative activities, whether through art, writing, or even problem solving, we access parts of our unconscious including the shadow. Now, consider your own life. Are there passions or projects you've set aside because they felt too risky or vulnerable? What if these were the very expressions of your true self waiting to emerge? As you begin to integrate your shadow, you'll notice a shift. The traits and feelings that once seemed overwhelming or shameful become sources of strength and wisdom. You'll find yourself living with greater authenticity, confidence, and purpose. In the next and final section, we'll reveal the ultimate truth about your shadow and how embracing it can lead to profound transformation, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. Stay with us as we uncover the final, most powerful insight that will tie everything together and illuminate the path to your highest potential. As we conclude this journey, let's reflect on the significance of what we've uncovered. The shadow, that hidden and often feared part of ourselves, isn't a curse to bear. It's a gift waiting to be unwrapped. It holds the key to our authenticity, our creativity, and ultimately our purpose. But what does it mean to truly embrace your shadow? And how can this act of integration transform not only your inner world, but the way you engage with life as a whole? To answer these questions, we must first confront a truth that Jung himself emphasized. We cannot achieve wholeness by rejecting parts of ourselves. Wholeness comes from unity, from bringing all aspects of our being into harmony. Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This is the essence of shadow work. Not denying the darkness, but understanding it, owning it, and using it to fuel your growth. So how do you make the darkness conscious? One profound way is through acts of vulnerability. When you openly acknowledge your fears, insecurities, and flaws, you take away their power to control you. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the willingness to say, "This is who I am, and I am enough." Consider the relationships in your life. How often do we put on masks, showing only the parts of ourselves we think others will accept? This habit, while understandable, creates a barrier between us and true connection. By embracing your shadow, you give yourself permission to show up fully, allowing others to see and love you for who you really are. This kind of authenticity is magnetic. It draws people in, inspires trust, and fosters deeper, more meaningful relationships. And it's not just about personal connections. It's about the impact you can have on the world. When you integrate your shadow, you stop being at war with yourself. This inner peace radiates outward, influencing how you approach challenges, opportunities, and even your purpose. You become a person who operates from a place of wholeness rather than fragmentation. Let's look at purpose through this lens. Many people spend their lives searching for a sense of meaning, believing it's something external to be discovered. But Jung teaches us that purpose arises from within. It's the natural outcome of aligning with your true self, shadow included. Think about it. Your purpose isn't just what you do, it's who you are. It's the unique combination of your strengths, passions, and even struggles that shape how you contribute to the world. The shadow is an integral part of this equation. It's not a roadblock to your purpose, it's a guide. For example, someone who has struggled with feelings of unworthiness might find their purpose in helping others recognize their own value. Someone who has faced anger or frustration might channel that energy into creating systems of justice or advocacy. Your wounds can become your wisdom. Now let's address the most profound insight of all. Jung believed that integrating the shadow doesn't just transform the individual, it has the potential to transform humanity. Why? Because when you confront your own darkness, you become more compassionate, understanding, and empathetic. You recognize that the struggles you faced are not unique to you, but are part of the shared human experience. Imagine a world where more people embrace their shadows instead of projecting their fears and insecurities onto others. They would own them, heal them, and grow from them. Conflicts would diminish, understanding would deepen, and humanity would move closer to collective enlightenment. This is the true power of shadow work. It's not just about self-improvement. It's about contributing to a more conscious, connected, and compassionate world. As we conclude, I leave you with a challenge. Look within, not just at the parts of yourself you're proud of, but also at the parts you've hidden away. Ask yourself, what is my shadow trying to teach me? How can I use its lessons to live more authentically? What steps can I take today to begin this journey of integration? Remember, this isn't a one-time process. It's a lifelong journey. But each step you take brings you closer to the person you're meant to be, a person of depth, purpose, and wholeness. As we close, I invite you to share your thoughts, your reflections, and your questions. What has this exploration of the shadow revealed to you? What resonates most deeply? Your insights might inspire someone else to take the first step on their own journey. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you embrace all of who you are and step boldly into the life you were meant to live. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you find courage, wisdom, and peace as you continue to explore the depths of your being.